Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different from my other videos, but still relevant, and that's about FIRE, Financial Independence Retire Early. Now, I'm personally much more interested in the financial independence part of it rather than the early retirement, since I'm relatively young and don't really see myself retiring anytime soon. But I do love the idea of being financially independent, which essentially means I don't need to rely on or stress about money from like a job. Essentially, it's the equivalent of FU money. It's having the ability to say yes or no to opportunities, careers, jobs. If you want to change careers, if you want to pursue a business or something, you have a cushion and a certain income that your investments can generate that will allow you to have a little bit more breathing room, right? That's really the benefit of financial independence. And it's something as a Canadian that's becoming, feels like at least it's becoming harder and harder to achieve. So I just wanted to explain basically what financial independence is, how I plan on achieving it, and maybe help you guys as well to determine what your potential FIRE number could be. So basically, the way financial independence, your FI number as they call it, is calculated is they usually say that if you were to extract 4% of your capital or from your portfolio, that would be considered a safe number. Now, how did they come up with 4%? Well, apparently, I think in the 80s, some guy did something called the Monte Carlo simulation, basically a bunch of tests, and they found that there's like a 97% plus or something like that chance that you won't run out of capital so long as you don't pull out more than 4% from your portfolio. Now, this is assuming you're investing in, a balanced, broad-based, funds for your portfolio, the stock market or bonds. Now, what your portfolio mix-up is really up to you. Personally, I go 100% equity for my relatively young age, but of course, this is not financial advice. It's just my personal circumstances and what I believe in. But yeah, 4% is definitely considered very conservative, and I think a much more reasonable withdrawal rate would be something like 5 or 6%. But let's go with 5% for easy math. So let's say you assume that your portfolio being drawn down at 5% would be enough to at least cover your basic living expenses. That would be considered your FI number. So for easy math, let's just say here in Canada, you need $50,000 a year after taxes in order to be financially independent and not stress about money. Then 5% would require $1 million portfolio. But what about taxes? So for taxes in Canada, of course, it varies from province to province. But one way you can see how much money you'll be left with after taxes as a general guideline would be to go to the Wealthsimple tax calculator website and just check, just to have a little bit of a eye-opening experience. If you put in income worked from employment income, aka the money you make from a job, let's say you're working and you're making $70,000 from your job, how much are you left with after taxes? Okay, and yes, it's true that in Canada we are taxed pretty high for our employment. But now compare that same 70,000 and see how far that takes you with dividends, or better yet, capital gains. And by doing that, you'll see that it really pays to be an investor. In fact, we're very much encouraged to be investors in Canada, where it seems like investing and making capital gains and dividends is much more tax efficient, therefore much more encouraged than being just a regular employee. Now, what could we do about that? Of course, we could complain, we could, bitch and moan, but that's the game. And the truth is we need to be playing that game. Of course, there's also tax sheltered accounts, stuff like your TFSA or even your FHSA, or ways of deferring taxes to later in retirement with stuff like your RSP. Now, I'm not going to go into all those. Of course, if you guys are interested, I would really like to make future videos on all of those different types of accounts. But the general idea is that you'll actually most likely be left with much more making money from your investment portfolio than you would from just trying to earn that equivalent amount from your employment income. So again, someone making $50,000 a year from their job is probably going to have less after taxes than selling $50,000 of your portfolio or getting $50,000 a year from a dividend. So you see what I'm saying? Basically, it makes it essential to be an investor in Canada. And once you know how much you need, to cover your expenses, and we use that 5% rule withdrawal rate, we can do some pretty easy math to see what your FI number would be, right? So the key here is to understand that this number isn't something you have to strive for, and as soon as you hit that, you just quit your job. It's more that once you get to this number or ballpark, it should give you some ease of mind, where you can finally say, okay, now I can take risks that I maybe wouldn't have ever been able to take before, have the confidence to take before. So I know for me, this has been a big stress reliever, I should say, in my life, and has really allowed me to start thinking less about, working a job that I don't necessarily enjoy for the next 30, 40 years, and instead maybe pursuing other options such as YouTube or maybe a part-time gig or other business opportunities rather than having to slave away and, enjoy my youth. So it's, it's not the easiest thing. Of course, getting to your FI number is going to take a lot of discipline, time. But if you understand compound interest, you understand that, it's the snowball effect, and the snowball gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, then you'll realize that, time's going to pass anyway. So might as well start getting that ball rolling. So that's all I want to say. If you guys liked this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I want to be doing more finance, personal investing kind of topics. So if you guys like that kind of stuff, please let me know in the comments. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, let me know as well. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one. Take care.